So welcome to the Rodcast, the Rod Pod, the Culture Rupture. Today we're here with RudeJack art from, you've seen the videos, you've seen MF Doom, Mitza, Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared, you've seen all that stuff. But we worked together like a year or so ago on a project for Metallica. Room of Mirrors, and what was the other one? Oh, right. Shadows Follow?
Suicide Boys. Oh, yeah, and then, yeah, the other Metallica, but yeah.
And Shadows Follow. Yeah, you also worked on Suicide Boys later on. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, in general, going back to the basics, what made you, even want to start doing animation, dude?
Comics were my first love.
Oh.
And, I mean, like a lot of animators, I was an illustrator first, and I think I still primarily am in my case. But when I tried looking into comics, I kind of found that, or a lot of people told me, not that it's all about the money, but to make a living in comics, like just comics as is kind of near impossible if you're not an established name, if you're not already big, and you're not proven. So when because all I did was draw. I just drew on everything. Like that was my whole life, like my whole childhood, my whole teenage years. But when I finally got to college, and I went to art school, my initial plan was illustration, but then I just kind of realized, and not out of like arrogance, but just, I was like, well, I'm already self-taught. I've gotten this far just learning how to draw myself. Like, I'm only going to continue to do that. And if I'm going to go to school and spend all this money,
Okay.
why would I spend it? Why would I spend it on something I already know how to do? Like, what's the point? So at the last minute, I chose animation because I realized that would open up more doors. And if I ever wanted to go back to just like comics or illustration, I could always do that. But like if I went to animation, I'd at least be learning a new skill. So that's how it kind of started. And I've loved animation my whole life. It was just one of those things that like I never thought of that being the viable thing. Because I was still like hung up on like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna do comics or whatever, But then I realized it's like so easily compatible, and I just kind of doubled down on that. And I just pivoted more towards animation because it got me more jobs in the beginning, and mostly freelance work. But that's how it started, at least. Like I fell into it more logically, but deep down I think I'm still more of an illustrator.
So is there like a famous school you went to for animation?
Not necessarily famous. I went to a public art school.
Oh, okay.
In Massachusetts, and Mass Art is the name of the school. And the animation program was small, but it was growing, and it was very self-directed. Whereas a lot of other schools that I've encountered, most of the time you work like as a group, a department, working on one big film or one big project. Because as you know, like that's what animation is. Like you have to work in these big groups to get anything done. But our school was a lot more self-driven, like I said. So it was like you kind of wore all the hats. Like you were the director, you were the character designer, you were the animator. A lot of people didn't like that because they're just not wired that way. And I don't know if anyone is purely wired that way, but I was fortunate enough to respond to it pretty well, because I just already kind of had a lot of my own vision, and I already had a kind of established style of my own, and it worked for me. But yeah, that was my experience. I had a good experience, and I met wonderful people who are my colleagues and friends who we still like work together on stuff.
Oh yeah, that's the best part about art school, if anything.
Yeah.
It's just meeting someone else like-minded. It's interesting
Yeah, that's
you
kind of
mentioned the
yeah.
whole comics thing also, because that was this question I had for later on.
Hmm.
Because yeah, I look at your style and I immediately think comics, like underground, freaking 80s, uh,
Yeah.
fucking, you know what I'm talking about, Charles Burns type things. Very greedy, very starky, very, I don't know, like it's very rugged.
Yeah, I spec'd into line work. Yeah, like because for me, like my dad was a big inspiration, who exposed me to most of like Marvel comics in the '60s, in the '70s when he was growing up, and so like stuff like Jack Kirby and Steve Ditko and like
Oh
that
yeah.
era, but also like Alex Toth, who was like the designer who did um, like Johnny Quest and Space Ghost and like those classic uh comic kind of rigid animation.
Mm.
Like I love that stuff. Like I love animation as a last resort, which is what I've kind of been known for, where it's like I try to get away with as few frames as possible.
Yeah, even
But
on the Metallica
yeah,
one, it was kind of like you were trying
yeah,
really like dedicated main keyframes and then work around
yeah.
that.
Like I'll still animate, but for my stuff, it's like I want it to pop, and I want the composition to look good, and I want it to be detailed and distinct, and that's what I spec into. Like I'm not necessarily doing big fluid huge camera movements. I love people who can do that. Like I've done a few of those in my time, but it's just my style is less is more, and it's always, kind of me reluctantly trying to get back to being like, if I can get away with just one drawing, like if this can just be a good composition, if this could just be like a comic panel, then I'll do that. Like that's what I want. Like in my own work at least.
Yeah, yeah,
Um
yeah. I do
yeah.
remember some of your early stuff, at least in your channel. There was like the Samus Metroid animation.
Yeah.
That one was quite kind of
Yeah.
fluid actually. It starts with a strong
It
pose,
was.
but then it becomes a big beam that goes into the perspective.
Yeah.
So it can kind of work to its own benefits of having these dynamic poses very quickly turn into another
Yeah.
thing.
One of my favorite quotes that I think about by one of my favorite animators, Robert Valley.
Yes, hell yeah,
Yeah.
hell yeah,
Okay, hell yeah.
hell
I have a button here.
Hell yeah, Batman.
But yeah, no, he described, because he too is like a comic artist, like turned animator, and he's like fully animated like his comics and graphic novels, like in his
yeah,
own
yeah,
limited
yeah,
way.
yeah.
And that's what I take a lot of, like I once I saw that, I was like, oh hell yeah, I can do that. Where it's like kind of a step above a motion comic. But yeah, he has this saying that I love where he says you only have like one tank of gas. And like per project, you have one tank of gas. Like, you're in a car, you're on a road trip, you have one tank of gas, and it's up to you to choose when to cruise and when to floor it. And I take that to mean, like, you watch shows, anime, like a lot of stuff, where they can get away with like very limited animation if like people are just sitting there talking, and then there'll be like two scenes in the episode where it gets like insane, or like an action scene, or like, they just like it's the big moment, and that's when you go all out. And by setting that expectation, like, I feel like then you get to play with the audience in a way that they come to like, where it's like, if they expect the limitedness to be the normal, they'll be happy with that, and then they'll be delighted when there's the big, like, really fluid, expressive stuff. Like, yeah, like it's just like, and you have to budget, you have to be economic, like even when it's just you, like working on something, and like this can be any project, even when there's no money involved, or if you have a team, or if you don't. Like I just really like that idea. So like when I work on my stuff, I try to set a deadline, and I'm like, look, finished, not perfect. If I sit here, my OCD is going to take over, and this thing will never get done. So that's just how I feel. Or that's just a great piece of advice that I took from Robert. I also ramble a lot.
It's interesting because
so.
you're you're kind of prolific. You upload quite a lot, I'd say, compared to
I've
most
spec'd
animators.
into it. Again, it's because I've and this isn't me tooting my own horn, it's just like I've learned how to most efficiently pick my battles and be like, okay, I can reuse some frames for like the whole Smash Bronx thing that I never intended to be as big as it was or keep going, but I've come to enjoy it, and it gets a lot of traction, so I'm gonna keep up with it a little bit. I don't want to do it forever, but like as long as there's an idea, I'm gonna keep working on it. But for that, it's like, yeah, like I'll reuse assets and I'll know what I can get away with, and I'll spec into like more limited animation, like, and just focus on like the detailed faces to carry it. Like ultimately, like a goal of mine, if I never get more of a budget or if I never get more people to help me, I'd probably just shift into doing more like high-end animatic stuff where it's like I'll have like the still images basically work for me, and I'll just put like audio over it or whatever. Like if I'm ever in a position where it's like I just can't keep up, like I'll slowly shift into just doing that. And I think it'll still work. And I was doing that recently.
I think so
I was
too.
Experimenting with that. Yeah.
I mean, my favorite cartoon from yours, Neil Gaiman, is just 3 frames.
Yeah, that was really funny.
Yeah, so that's like
Sadly,
3
it's
drawings.
aged weirdly, but yeah.
Because the new stuff. It's interesting.
Yeah, I was saddened to hear all that. It's fucked up. But,
well, I literally live in a parallel universe where nothing of that affects me because I don't read any of that.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. It's interesting seeing you mention all of that stuff because, I do see the storyboard influence, and you did storyboards for Cartoon Network. And
I did.
Adult
I
Swim.
did. Yes.
And
I worked on.
So I was gonna ask you because exactly. What did you work on? What did you do for it? Because I don't know if that's well known.
Yeah. So I storyboarded on season 2 of Bird Girl, which was a spiritual successor to Harvey Birdman on Adult Swim. And yeah, no, I mean, the show, I don't know where it is at the moment. I don't think there's ever going to be another season. I met some incredible people, wonderful people to work with. It was the hardest I was ever working, and like the most my hand ever hurt, and because I was like also learning Toon Boom while working on it, so it was like it was a lot. And these were like we had like deadlines, so it was like there was 5 hour, not 5 hour, it was like a 5-day work week, but if you didn't get your shit done, then you had to get it done. So it's like I was working overtime and stuff like that, and I'm just being brutally honest, it was a very teachable thing about the industry, and it was the most money I'd ever made at that time, and like I don't regret it, but I think that kind of woke me up to being like not as into doing this for the rest of my career. Like I was just like, it was a lot more work than I initially thought it was going to be, because every studio is different in how it kind of defines what a storyboard artist is, and we weren't just doing boards, we were full on doing animatics / like borderline like animation, and then we were doing revisions constantly, and it was this weird like assembly line where there was no communication between us and the writers, and there was no communication between us and the animators. Like you just came in, did your thing, and then you left. And I kind of realized that I hated like how disjointed and like separated the departments were, because like to me it meant the creativity is like being stifled, because like the collaboration is like kind of gone. Like it's like it's like doing homework. And I don't say all this to complain, like and like I'm not complaining how anything like the people I worked with or whatever, but just the way that this is run, I just fundamentally disagreed with, and I felt very burnt out. And this was like over the course of like a little over half a year of just doing this nonstop, And for Cartoon Network, I boarded on a commercial, which was a smaller thing. But just to be completely honest, like, yeah, the Adult Swim and Cartoon Network thing, like in my bios or whatever, they are not lies, but I definitely use them to milk a lot, just to be like, hey, like I worked for these companies, like I'm a former animator or I'm a former storyboard artist, and they're true, but I did not like serve like years. Like people always think like, did you
You're
work
not
on
a
Venture
veteran.
Bros? Yeah, it's like I wish I worked on Venture Bros. I wish I worked on Aqua Teen. I didn't. I got in, got paid, got experience, and then I got out. Essentially, I'm still very open to working with them if the price is right and it's a gig that I want to work on. But after that, I kind of learned what I wanted out of animation and like art as a career and what I had to do. And you know, that's the second part of my career journey. But yeah, no, that was my time at Adult Swim.
Well, I did one video where, because of limitations, I also had to do like a stop motion-y thing, like a comic almost. It was Involution. It was when I did that, I did incredibly complex drawings, and the storyboards essentially were just almost the final drawings. In the storyboards, I was already doing essentially finalized stuff for animation, but this was for a private client, so so it was. You know, it was kind of different. I was alone. I was expected to do everything by myself. So I wanted to know, since you had this experience with studios, how is it like compared to the freelance of Metallica and Suicide Boys? Like, how does one go with the other?
Well, there's definitely a question of how much you're getting paid per whatever. So I guess, you know, the brass tacks of it is the money is usually very different.
Okay.
But the option for collaboration and freedom, I think, is a lot higher when you're working on your own or freelancing with a team, like if you're with a right team. Being your own boss, doing like commission work or gig work, I do prefer it. I think so. You have just so much more control of hopefully schedule and creativity, like the direction of the project.
In this case, in that project of the time, we did 2 videos in 2 weeks, so that was very intense.
It was intense. Yeah, no, I don't regret any of that. It was just, everything's teachable. Yeah.
Either way, I just wanted to know the differences. I only did freelance. I never were on the studio. However, now you're doing something completely different. You are just actually doing your own shorts, I could say. How'd you go around it? What was the first one that blew up? Was it the "Don't Fuck Me, I'm Scared"? What was it?
Yeah, so I was just uploading old videos to my YouTube, like stuff I had done in college and just random little dumb stuff. And then, I got really into MF Doom, like over the course of a year, in hip hop and rap, and then that led to and the new Don't Hug Me series came out, and I loved it, and I just was compelled to make, like, I was compelled to just, I was like, I just want to draw them with guns, like it's fun. I'm just bored and want to do that. And then it just, like, one thing led to another, and I was like, okay, wouldn't it be funny if they're like fighting Sesame Street and the Muppets, and and so that was just an organic music video I worked on over the course of like 2 months.
Was it like a Patreon thing?
No, it was completely. Okay. I didn't really even have a Patreon going at that time. Okay. No, I just made that for shits. Like, really, that's it. There was no other motivation. It was just fun, and it exploded. Like, I'd say that's when my YouTube career actually seriously started, because I was just using YouTube as a way to like many of us, like, just to get gigs or to get noticed or to, just have my stuff out there in some portfolio kind of way.
I do remember some of the older stuff. The interviews with other people even, I remember. Yeah.
And so yeah, that exploded, and from there I just started, I don't think I was still consistent. um I was just still putting out little shorts here and there, just stuff to make myself laugh and my friends laugh, and uh and I just kept doing that until eventually what was once passive became something that, like, it's still in a way passive income, but now it's become my full-time job, where I'm just now at a point between my Patreon, um my merch sales, and my YouTube money or my streaming money. Like, it's not a lot, but it's like it's enough at this moment where I can coast. Like, I'm not exactly saving money, but I'm like, well, I can actually afford to do this all the time. Like, I don't need to, go out and, work dead end jobs like I was doing in between gigs, or I was like delivering food, I was walking dogs, like I was doing whatever.
Oh, really?
And yeah, no, I'm not complaining. Like it was kind of actually nice in ways to get away from your desk and just get money for something that's very simple, where you don't have to like use your creative brain. Because that was the thing I learned, like doing storyboards and like working on Bird Girl and some other stuff, is you're getting fried, you're getting used for your abilities, but not on your terms per se, and you just get exhausted. And the last thing I wanted to do at the end of the day was draw for myself. So
oh yeah, definitely. That's
the lesson. Like, yeah, so I was kind of pretty happy for like a year just doing all these odd jobs where I could set my own hours, be my own boss in a way. Like, I didn't have to like choose when to clock in. It was like, you work, you get paid. So you choose your own hours. And yeah, I was just doing a lot of that for like about 2 years while just taking on what I could, until the YouTube grew into something viable. And my hope is that in a year's time from now, in 5 years from now, like, I'll be totally self-sufficient. It's not just the YouTube, of course. It's also, like I said, the Patreon and the merch and like all the other stuff tied with it. And if I take on a gig here and there, but yeah, like I'm not relying on commissions as much, because I kind of hate commissions. Like, I just like it.
I
It's
can
just
fathom doing just that. It
yeah,
pretty
like
miserable.
like it. You should be, or I am very grateful for those who want commissions from me and love my stuff. Obviously, like it's a symbiotic process, but it's just, it takes away time for me working on the next animation or whatever. And because I'm like a one-man army here, and I can't afford to like hire people yet to like help me color and stuff, like on a long term, or have a dedicated crew. It's just like, yeah, anything I do in that world, or yeah, like I said, like if I take on a commission, if I take on a gig, and if it's not paying enough, then it's just not worth it. Like, I'd rather just focus on YouTube.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, a lot of the videos you make, they're pretty short, but I think they also have to be, because a lot of them are clips from songs that you essentially turn into a whole joke, like a whole bit.
Yeah.
Right? It's just,
oh yeah,
that's like
the
your
way
whole
my
thing.
the way my friend describes my stuff, as it currently stands, is he calls them Artisan YouTube poops, and I think that's the best way they've been described. Where it's like, these are like handmade YouTube poops. It's like, I'm taking context, I'm taking clips from stuff, I'm remixing them into my own jokes, but they're like hand drawn. Like, that's
Yeah.
that. So it's, yeah, that's like never left. Like, that's always been part of my humor. Like, I love like references and stuff like that, and trying to forge a narrative out of it.
Ice Age coming.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. I love
This is
some of
really
them.
yeah, it's just so stupid.
Some of
But
them.
like, that's how it happens. Like, I love music and I'll listen to a song or something, and then it's like, oh yeah, boom, there's a joke.
Look at them yo-yos.
Look at them yo-yos.
I do see you in that one particularly, besides there being like obviously dire straits, 30 seconds of build up just for that. I noticed you used, and you do this sometimes a lot in your videos. There was like a live action element, like the background is just an actual.
Yeah, I don't do this out of. I have nothing but respect for background artists. Okay. Again, I'm a solo person here. Like, and I just don't have the money to pay people to do my stuff, and I don't have the time to do it myself, really. So I'm just saying this in my own worldview when I'm working on my stuff alone. My mantra is fuck backgrounds. Because I'm like, fuck it. Like, I'm just going to get away with live action stuff because it's easy. I don't have to think about it. Like, yeah, sometimes I gotta like work to like find images that suit the camera angle I want, but yeah. Like, that's like the trickiest part, but I just don't worry about the backgrounds. I just don't give a shit. I'll find a way to like make it work. So in that regard, yeah, like I just try to get away with it, and I feel like it adds, because my art style is also more detailed. It's not as jarring. Not that it would be jarring if you had like super simple characters. Like, you can make it work, but
it definitely works together. Like, it definitely
works.
Seems
like,
together.
Yeah, it's yeah.
I do think you also add some filters on top that helps it out, especially camera and camera movements, also quite important.
Yeah, I'm blurring the backgrounds. Yeah, I'm still putting the focus on the characters. Like, it's like it's about what I can get away with.
Yeah, the Brothers Mario, I think, is a good example of that. But then again, that's a literal throwback, so it makes sense. Speaking of the Brothers Mario and the expansion pack, the Smash Bronx, it's really interesting. How did you? Because you had to redesign every single one of them into like a urban New York attire, right? So how did you go about that?
So the first thing ever, I had this bit. The first one was just this dumb bit in my head, making myself laugh, just YouTube poop, the Mario CDI game stuff we've seen a billion times. And really it just all hinged on "This is it, Luigi" as a joke. Because I was just like, yeah, he's just showing him Michael Jackson's "This Is It," like, and they just like chuckle, and I was like, I love earnest, sincere humor that's not like cruel. It's just witty. It's just sentimental. Like, I don't know. Like, I mean, I grew up with like Newgrounds and like I'm 29. Like, I've been around the
same
block.
age. We're the same age.
Oh, look at that. But yeah, like, I mean, if you remember, I mean, the internet is still like this, but a lot of stuff is just like cruel and like mean for the sake of being mean, or it's just like gross or like dirty and like in terms of parody. And I'm just kind of sick of that. I'm just like, it's not as funny to me as it once was.
Yeah.
Like, it can still be if you do it right, but to me, I kind of have this theory where it's like, once we get so used to something, what becomes funny is the thing we're kind of starved for. And so to me, doing stuff that's like sentimental or like just earnest and sincere, like, where it just, the joke is what it is. Like, again, like, look at them yo-yos. Like, that's it. That's the joke. Like, to me, it was so funny. Like, it's like all this build up for like nothing. Like, he just literally sees yo-yos. So I just took that and rode with it. But yeah, so to answer your base question, same thing with the Brothers Mario, where I called it that because that's a joke on the Brothers Johnson, which is the track, the artist who used the track I used in that video, the song in the background is the Brothers Johnson. So I was like, haha, what if I called it the Brothers Mario? Which it's actually spelt, if you look on the YouTube, the lore I came up with is that it does say Mario, but it's actually Marlo, because my idea was that, okay, like the L and I, like a lowercase L and an I, like look exactly the same, and if they were Italian American immigrants, which was often the case in New York, is when they got to Ellis Island, a lot of the customs like officers fucked up like immigrants' names, and they were stuck with these names. And so my world is that their last name is Marlo, because A, I think that's funny. B, it gives me plausible deniability against Nintendo as like, no, this is, what are you talking about? They're the Marlo brothers. Like, and so it just fits. It fits this like more lived in, grounded, gritty world. And other friends I've told that too, like they think that's pretty funny. And, yeah, but like, yeah, in the YouTube video, like I know a lot of people are going to think I'm like gaslighting them, but I'm like, no, look at it. It says the brothers Marlo.
Oh.
Like you just read it wrong because, you know, you saw them and you're like, oh, that's obviously Mario and Luigi. In my world, they're Marty and Lou. Lou's middle name is Giacomo, that begins with a G, so it's like Louis G. Like Louis.
Oh,
G.
Louis G. As in,
yeah,
man.
so it's like there's enough there that I can get away with, and I didn't use any symbols. And they're not in the same outfits, and their haircuts are a bit different, and of course the art style, they're wrinkled. So there's enough plausible deniability, and I just kind of took that and ran with it. But again, to answer your base question, the first one was just the joke, and I just drew them more realistic that way. Because, like, you know, they look like my dad, they kind of look like me, they look like my cousins.
You use yourself as reference. I was actually going to ask if you even have one of those old school Disney mirrors, just for your expressions.
I do have a mirror in my room that I do references for, but I'm going to let you in on a secret. Like, so I definitely do make faces, and I definitely draw them, but the videos, you see the shorts that are me acting out the whole thing in different hats and different stuff. I actually did that. I did all of those after I've made stuff. Like those are not reference things that I made first. And the reason I did that, like purely just being honest, is for the algorithm, because people love that shit.
Oh, really?
Like as a behind the scenes thing. Yeah, because like I think the algorithm is tailored when they see a human face to just favor it. Like I'm serious. Like I know it's stupid, but the other thing I learned about myself over the years is that I have a very expressive, elastic face, which can mirror a lot of these characters. Like I love Gmod and stuff, so it's like I would always be doing Gmod, like Jim Carrey type faces and stuff like that. So I channeled that into my work, but it's not like I don't think of it as pure cheating, because when I'm making this stuff, I do make those faces. I just don't record it. It's not until the video is done, like the short is out, that I'll then have the hindsight to be like, oh, okay, I'll just take an hour, go to the mirror and film myself reenacting it, and I'll just cut it together.
So it was all for the Al Gore's Riven.
It's for Al Gore's
sick fucking Riven. Well, it's interesting. I thought I had you. I was trying to find a hole in your argument, like because at some point Louis G says, "Hello, Mario." But that's because he's holding the Mario CD, the Mario vinyl.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. And you're like, this is it, Luigi. Yeah.
This is it, Luigi.
And also, Nintendo has never acknowledged like the CDI, like Mario and Zelda games, which is I think why they live on YouTube and they're so beloved and like, you know, just these weird anomalies. And so I don't think they're ever going to come after me for that. Like, I've thought about this because I'm like, well, it's not like I did a Kickstarter and it's not like I claimed any of this as my own. It's just something that like started as one joke and then people loved it. And then I kept coming up with more puns. And then it was like, well, fuck it. Like, let's see where this can go. And I just kept working on it and adding the characters and changing them enough where it's like, okay, yeah, undeniably that's, you know, like you just know who the character is by looking at them, and then when they speak, you're like, oh, that's that voice line. I don't know how copyright works in terms of that, because it's like, it's in a way it's sampling, and it's such a small thing. Like technically, yes, they do own the voice lines, but it's a small YouTube parody. Yeah, it's a YouTube parody. It's like I'm not claiming like this is my copywritten series. No, anyone could go out and make this parody. Like I'm just the one doing it. Like how many billions of Mario parodies are there on YouTube and Newgrounds, like since the early internet? Like, so mine just has like a consistency to it and a look to it that I think makes it pop and is different enough that makes people latch onto it as like this, extended universe or whatever, which it effectively is. But it's like I'm not trying to make like a devoted like here's the sitcom where it's like here's 20 episodes and here's an A plot and a B plot. It's like no, here's just these little dumb fun shorts that there's lore that is being made, but it's being made like passively. It's like every new video maybe adds a little bit more, but I'm never gonna fight Nintendo if they come after me or whatever, and I don't think they're going to. Like one of my closest friends, Frederick Fox, Matthew Gafford of Fox in Space, we're really good buds, and he's been making his Star Fox parody thing for like over 20 years.
Wait, is that a Fox in Space or whatever it's called?
Yes. Yeah. He's one of my best friends. Yeah, he helped do like some of the music, the MIDI covers for Smash Bronx, the New York State of Mind cover for Billy Joel. That was all him in the Mario sound font. Yeah, and he's been teaching me how to do it, and I've been having a ball. Like, but yeah, no, he's been doing that again, like for over 20 years. He has never heard anything from Nintendo, nothing. So if he can do that, and his thing is blatantly, like I mean, he's changed a lot. It's his own baby. It's amazing. If anyone's listening to this, go watch A Fox in Space episode 1 and 2. It's incredible. For like a fan project that he mostly did on his own, which is insane, the amount of work.
Especially because it's long.
Dude, yeah, episode 2 is 40 minutes long, and he taught himself like Blender, and he hand animated everyone, and he does like 90% of the voices. It's like insane. Like he's a workhorse. And he's been around since like the early days of like the internet, like in like the Something Awful forums and E-Bombs world and Albino Black Sheep. Like he's been around forever.
He's been paying the low tax.
Yeah, but basically, yeah, like so I think I've already made my point, but yeah, if he can get away with this, and his stuff like, includes like all these characters, and in they're like fully voiced, and they refer to each other as Fox McCloud and Wolf O'Donnell and Falco Lombard, like full names, like it's clearly Star Fox, like even though he changed the title of the series. Like in my thing, I don't even do that. Like it's like they're not even like they're not having these plots, and they're so changed enough in design that I could just deny most of it. I think I could get away with most of it. Like maybe I'd have to change a design here and there. Like I think my Wario design is separate enough, but he still has the jagged mustache, and so maybe
Waluigi, I think it's the most distinct yet similar one. You know what I'm saying? It could be a completely different character, but at the same time, just because it's next to Wario, it's Waluigi.
Yeah, exactly. Like once you hear him speak, or like once you see him, like there's enough going on. I mean, like with Donkey Kong, he's literally just a giant, gorilla, but it's like I've changed the color, the skin tone. I put him in a suit. There's no logos, which is the big thing. Like there's no DK on him. Like there's no M on Mario, no L on Luigi. Like, yeah, it's just separate enough where, like, it's just parts, like it's fun, but I also wanted to make them distinct because it's my own vision. And in the case of what I'm doing now, like I am selling plushies of Uncle Marty and Uncle Lou. There's
I did see that,
19,
yes.
Yeah, there's like 19 or 18 days. Yeah, sorry to plug this right now, but plushies live now. Yeah, and so that has a funding period, and then after that, they're not going to be on sale anymore. It's like this is your only time, your only window to get them. But yeah, I was able to make those, and there's no problem because again, they're different enough. And Fred has also done that, Fox in Space, with his wolf and his fox and other characters. So it's like, yeah, it's so this actually leads very well into a point we're probably going to cover anyway, which is why even do this stuff. And it's it is fun, but I've learned, like, and this is not like an ancient secret or like forbidden knowledge, like everyone's done this, but if you ride the zeitgeist, if you find fan stuff ride a fandom, choose something or multiple things that have a large following, and you just make fan art. It can be sincere, it can be parody, it can be whatever. That's how like almost everyone gets seen and things get shared, because people already know what it is and they can engage with it. Whereas if you do your own original thing from the jump, like even if it is pretty good, because that's what I kind of did. Like I put out like a comic, like a black and white comic. I put it on my Patreon. I put it on like my website at the time, and I was trying to do like more original stuff because I have like all these original things I want to do, but they just never get seen because, I mean, it sucks to say, like in our digital age, in the TikTok age, where everyone has like, you know, ADD monkey brain, it's like if you're not giving them a video that's like doing all the work for them, they're not gonna like sit down and read. Like they're just not. Like you're not gonna get anyone. You might get a few people, but even then, it's like so small. But basically, if you do an original like comic first, people don't know the characters, so they're already like, okay, I'll have to use my brain to engage with this. They'll have to read, which they just don't want to do, like most of the time. Yeah, and there's like no audio. There's like, again, you have to. I'm not trying to be a dick. It's just like you have to like assume your audience is basically, if they're not like children, they act like children in the sense where it's like they have to be stimulated with like audio and visual, and so animation does that. And especially if your animation is like my stuff, where it's like, here's Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared, here's Mario, here's Fallout, here's Left 4 Dead, you know, here's, you know, Dire Straits, here's music puns. Those are all things people already know, so they're going to come back, and they're going to come back in droves, and they're going to share it. You know, that's the great thing. Like, you want your stuff to be shared. I do all this so that I can eventually get to a point where I can take risks on my own original stuff that is completely divorced from all this stuff. Like, and I still enjoy doing this, but this is the path that I have deemed and that I have seen the pattern myself. That's how YouTube can work for people.
I do think that it's been the pipeline for a really long time. Even
yes,
my friend
the
Speedo, you know, he started with a bunch of parodies, and now he's like doing Punch.
Exactly.
But
yeah, I watched that episode. That was great.
Thank you, and thanks Speedo for making that beautiful series.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. But I think this goes right into one of your other projects, which is Vaudevillains, which is a game, right? Yeah. So what is it about? When did it come up? What are you doing for it? What is Vaudevillains all about?
So Vaudevillains, you know, again came out of just the success of Don't Fug Me, which is still my most successful video. And this team of really cool people, like they're just like three of them. None of us had never ever made a game. We're all around the same age, but they were like, hey, we would love to ask your permission to make a game. And I just thought that was funny and cool, like, because it's like you're basically asking me permission to make fan art of my fan art, which I don't know what the rules are, but it's like I just thought that was like kind of silly. It's like you don't have to ask, just go for it. And we started talking, and then I got involved, and I was willing to do like the sprite work, and you know, we fleshed it out where it's basically like, well, let's basically make Don't Thug Me the game, but like have our own legally distinct, like, you know, Muppets and puppets and, you know, kid show stuff.
Yeah, that's what it felt like a bunch of Muppets.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, like they break out of the studio, they gain sentience, and like all these other like Muppets, and
it's episode 1 of Black Dynamite.
You know, pretty much, yeah. Like it's that, like, as a game. We have taken a bit of a hiatus from it because we've all just gotten busy, and there's, you know, game development, indie game development is an enormous beast. It is such a big thing, and it takes years, and especially because we have like no budget. This is like completely in our free time. So, I mean, like I don't say this to like say to anyone, you know, like to be like, oh, like maybe it's not happening, but just at the very moment, like we're just on a break. Not that there's any bad blood or anything. We're just all busy.
Yeah.
And I would love it to see the light of day with the love it deserves. It's just right now I'm focusing on my own thing. And if I get to a more comfortable spot, then that'll, like, the better I do as well, then like the more eyes will be on the game and the better the game will do, you know, in theory. So it's like it's okay. Like, even if we have to wait a little longer, like, it's something that's fun to work on. I mean, I've got a lot of other projects I work on in the background. There's like another game project I'm working on, but I'm not ready to talk about that yet. That one's more of like almost like a visual novel kind of thing. And then there's like a web show I want to do with some of my friends, and like other stuff that's like, it's always slowly being chipped away at. Like, I don't know what the number of subscribers I would feel comfortable with, like, launching the thing, because you also want to think about timing. But, you know, I'm almost at 200K, which I feel like
that's pretty good.
It's pretty good. I'm super blessed. I'm so lucky. I'm so grateful. Like, thank you all. Really, really, I mean that. But yeah, like 200K, I feel like I could start to take more risks. Like, this year, I kind of want to treat this year as the year to get out all the other Smash Bronx things out of my system, so that, like,
there's still more. How much is it there?
Well, more ideas keep coming, and
okay.
I know I can keep doing stuff. And one of my great loves is sound font covers, like musical covers, like in the sound fonts of like these games. So it's like I used, you know, New York State of Mind in the Mario 64 sound font, and then there was like I asked permission from other people who have made these all on YouTube. Like in Smash Bronx, there were a ton. There was, you know, Donkey Kong Country, like Phil Collins, In the Air Tonight, and Closing Time, like, and like, so like I love doing that, and it's like a perfect marriage of, you know, that record shop, you know, Smash Bros thing, and music I love. And so I want to do more shorts where it's just like characters listening to music and vibing, like even like a whole album or something, like a 40-minute long video of just the characters, like, you know, sifting through records and like bobbing their heads to the music, and like I'll just make covers and stuff. So it's like it's a comfortable little like series of its own that I would love to like give more to, and then by the end of this year kind of just either be completely done with it, or done with it to the point where, like I said, like just get most of it out of my system, so that, you know, I just feel like I gave it my all and I can move on to other stuff, and I don't need to be known for that forever or be expected to do that forever. I mean, you're always going to get people who, you know, if I keep making the thing, they're going to be like, no, just make this. This is all I want. Like, please don't make other stuff. And I'm like, yeah, well, sorry. Like, enjoy what I did, you know? But,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, like I just feel there's enough little things I want to do, really just for me, covers for me, like ideas I have. And one of the great joys that was never something I intended or I expected was how many people tell me how much I've exposed them to all this music.
Yeah, that's interesting.
How many people?
Yeah,
like so many people tell me, like, you know, you're the reason I know who MF Doom is. You're the reason why I know, like, what, like
Dire Straits.
Dire Straits,
Even,
yeah, like all of them, like, and it's, I mean, I grew up with all this stuff. Like, this was my music. I remember even having a chip on my shoulder because, like, I love progressive rock. I love Pat Metheny Group. I love Yes, Emerson, Lake and Palmer, Steely Dan, and I just remember, and this is not a slight on the show or whatever, but I just remember having the most hipster annoyance at anyone who would come up to me, see what I'm listening to or whatever, and be like, oh, do you like, oh, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, you love JoJo? And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, get away from me. like I was just like, not like I was that mean, but like I didn't know what the hell JoJo was, and I still have never watched it. And this isn't out of malice. Like, I'm like, you are allowed to enjoy something, and if that's how you're exposed to something, that's awesome. Like you are not, like, your self-worth is not dependent on the media you consume or know. Like, I think the internet needs to fucking realize that. Like, just give people a break. So I just say that with complete honesty. But at the time, I just remember being so annoyed because I was like, this was my thing. I grew up with this. This was like me and my dad, or me just going to a record shop and discovering this stuff, or, you know, finding stuff like on, you know, Napster and YouTube and all this shit. And for people to like just come up to me and be like, oh, Dio, like, oh, Speedwagon, oh, like, I'm just like, wait, you sound like an idiot. Like, I'm just like, shut up. Like, but yeah. Anyway,
I was actually gonna ask about this whole the brothers Mario, whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
I think one video just disappeared, right? The Stone in Focus Aphex Twin one.
It disappeared?
I can find it. Where is it?
Really?
Yeah, like I can't find the Stone in Focus video. Maybe it's just something to do. Maybe it's because I'm in Portugal. I have no idea. But I can't find a Stone in Focus. I was trying.
If you go to the playlist, you don't see it.
Okay, let's see playlist. There's a brothers.
Like the
Marlo.
brothers. Well, it's Smash Bronx tunes from the Smash Bronx playlist now. But
tunes from the Smash Bronx playlist, and I didn't write anything great. Thank you.
Or I mean, you're on my channel, right?
Tunes from. Oh, it's like just listed there. Okay.
Yeah, it's on my homepage.
All right. Because I swear that I couldn't find that one, and I really like it. So
yeah, so did
tunes from the Smash Bronx. Oh no, you're right. It's here, but it's only in the playlist. Like when I search for it, it doesn't appear. I was talking to this with Sean. It's like when you search for Punch Punch, it just doesn't appear. You actually have to go to his channel.
Yeah, I don't know if that's an algorithm thing. I hope this isn't the case. The guy who I got the cover from, his username is onforward, like ON4 WORD. He's the best. He's the best sound font like remix artist I've ever seen. He makes like a lot of Radiohead, Boards of Canada, like very, you know, for lack of a better term, sad boy rock, like Aphex Twin, like ethereal experimental covers. But he does it all in like the Mario 64 and like Zelda sound fonts, and they're amazing. And we hit it off, and I asked him for permission, and he was like, "Yeah, go ahead with my blessing." And that's where I got that Stone in Focus for Luigi, because that was just the whole joke was that whole Mario clip, right? You know, like it's a stone Luigi. Just the idea of him showing him like, yeah, they just have a ego death existential nightmare. It's just so funny.
It is really interesting because kind of like you, my dad also, not Aphex Twin, but a lot of this prog stuff I was also introduced to. You know, Triumvirat, Mahavishnu Orchestra, obviously Supertramp.
I love Supertramp.
Yeah, Supertramp's really good.
They're fucking amazing.
Is there a Supertramp parody coming in the future, baby?
Oof, I don't know. The idea has to be there. I can't force it.
I feel like that's if you listen to their lyrics, I think you can find it. Like the logical song. Are you drawing the Sonic?
Maybe, or like I would love to do a cover of the song in like the Mario sound font and then use it in a video or something, but it's like it all depends on what is the larger narrative going on here. Like, or I would just put it in like one of those EP like album things I want to do eventually. But
I mean, some of those are pretty short. Like the ASH Coming was like 5 seconds.
It's true. Oh, like one of those. Yeah, I don't know. Well, I'd have to hear, like, because to me, like, the whole way that those work is that they're either like misheard lyrics or they're lyrics being taken out of context. So I would have to think of, you know, the joke and like I don't know. Like I wouldn't want it to just be like dumb, because it's like, you know, you could do Breakfast in America. It's like, you know, like, can we have us for breakfast, mommy dear, mommy? And he's just tugging on her sleeve or something.
There was
like that. I don't know. That'd be kind of dumb.
There was one parody of, like, if anyone can find it, that would be a blessing, because I can find it anywhere. But there was one parody of Supertramp. Instead of Bloody Well Right, It was like a racist parody, Bloody Well White.
Oh,
so,
no.
If anyone can find that, but I couldn't find that anymore. But yeah, I see your point. It needs to click. It can't just be random. By the way, I drew a lot of stuff. If you want to change canvas to have space to draw, just let me know.
Yeah, no, it's all good. I mean, when I am talking, and if it's a question that I really gotta elaborate on, like, I'll probably stop drawing. That's just what I've noticed. But that's the only reason why. It's like when you go out to like eat, and you're like, you ask someone, like, you know, like a question, and then they like have to talk, and then they're not eating, and like you get to eat, and then they're like, hey, you haven't touched your food. It's like, you keep fucking asking me questions. Like, yeah. But no, it's all good, dude. I'm here to talk. The drawing is secondary.
Yeah, I just didn't want you to. I didn't want to fill up the whole thing.
Dude, you're fine.
Oh, Ghost Rider, that's cool. All right, yeah, I like how quickly you drew that skull. It's great. That's great.
Oh,
You're really cool at drawing like all those fierce expressions. It's like you give everyone a very strong like shin and I don't know, frown.
It's true.
Guy or girl, it's gonna have like a very strong features. Do you have like?
That's usually my MO.
Yeah. Sorry, I was gonna ask from the Vaudevillains thing. Have you worked for a game before that? Before Vaudevillains? No, this is the first one.
I have not.
So all those animations, that you show in your video are like for the game itself.
Yeah, like those are the sprites in the game. Like the opportunity for me to have a chance to do my art style as like sprites, like, was really cool. Like just the idea of, you know, it's weird because I'm the guy making it, and I don't say it out of ego. I just say it out of like what I've seen. And like most of the time when I've seen like comic book stuff be done in games, it's usually very rigid, or like it's just not, you know, as sketchy as gritty. Like, I think Pizza Tower has been a major North Star on this thing as like a influence, but also yeah, maybe not so much in gameplay, but like just in terms
of like the visuals, the pixel art mixed up with
the visuals,
the
the cracked out crazy energy, like like the fluidity, like, you know, I love stuff that isn't on model all the time.
I think there was a game called Bloods, BL.
Yeah, Blood was also really cool. Yeah.
And there was also a recent one made by a Newgrounds guy, with a chainsaw girl. I forgot the name of. Maybe you know what I'm talking about. And there is also this other beat 'em up game that's been in the works for like forever now. Nightmare Cops. You don't know about it? That is like a Newgrounds original. It's like I think it's Behemoth. I went.
Oh, okay.
I went into the Newgrounds headquarters in 2016, and they were making that. And I think it's still not out yet. So it's like you're like, you don't know when Vaudeville is gonna come out. Probably gonna come out before Nightmare Cops.
I mean, hopefully. I mean, yeah, like it is a case of. I mean, we were planning to do a Kickstarter and stuff, but we wanted to get the game to, like, we wanted to have the baseline thing already be a really fun gameplay loop.
Demo?
And yeah, like the demo or like the alpha, like, because it's like, you don't want to ask for money if you have like nothing to show for it, and if your presentation isn't great. Like, you already want to be like in the depths of the development with cool stuff to show, I think, to launch a successful crowdfunding thing. Like, I would never just like upload a few sketches and be like, hey, this is the idea, give me money. Like, no, I don't. Like, if I was going to do a comic or a web show, like, I would want to make the pilot alone.
Yeah, absolutely. You need a vertical slice.
Yeah, like, I would want the thing to be at least like a strong enough proof of concept, even if it's like the first half of like the full pilot or whatever, like just something. So yeah, like, yeah, no, I mean, I don't mean to disappoint any Vaudevillains peeps. Like, it's something that has a lot of potential and is a lot of fun. it's just like, yeah, it's just paused at the moment, and we don't know when we're gonna have a chance to come back to it because life is happening. You know, like just people are in school, we're getting older. Like there's things we got to do. There's work we got to do. You know, it's just you know.
Yeah, makes sense.
But yeah,
I do like the idea that you turned a meme into like a legit game, something that began as like
yeah.
a
I mean,
small
if
video.
they never approached me, I never would have like done it. I mean, I guess the brothers Marlo is similar, where it's like the response was too big to like ignore. So, I like if it gets me to, you know, 200K, 300K. I think absolutely if I hit 300K, then I'll be like, all right, I'm gonna really start waning off parody stuff. Like I'll still throw a log on that fire. I'll still make something once in a while, but I think once I get there, because hopefully I would have enough patrons and enough passive YouTube income. But the only way you make YouTube money is like if you keep uploading stuff. It's not like
If you keep,
Hmm?
so you have to continuously like.
you have to continuously, yeah, because it's like a lot of my stuff can't be monetized because it uses music.
Oh, of course.
But some of the stuff I am able to get around with because I'm using a little bit, or I'm using a cover we made, or something like that. But yeah, like I know people who even are beyond like 1 million subs on YouTube, and like it just doesn't bring in that much money, and it's like you do kind of have to keep making stuff. That's the catch. So
it's a
to anyone,
treadmill.
it is. It's like this is a full-time job. Like it really is. I'm so grateful I get to do it. Like any job, there are hard parts. I mean, there's no salary here. You know, like there's no guarantee. Like I estimate, like I've like it's been a few months now where I'm getting about the same amount coming in from all this, which is keeping me afloat, so that's great. But I'm trying to like double that, you know, like so that I can be really secure. Like that's like I just want to grow, because like the more like we all want to grow. Like I don't think it's unique, but like it's like, yeah, obviously the better I do there, the more money I can get from that. Like then I can actually maybe hire people if I have expendable income to help me make more stuff better. Yeah, I would just refunnel it back in. Like I don't really have the desire beyond the usual things, like, you know, pay off student loans, you know, like rent, food, groceries, like, you know, all that regular stuff. But beyond that, there's no big hobbies I indulge in. There's no, you know, like any like money I would have that would go to like someone's, you know, whatever habit, like fucking, I don't know, like skiing or concerts
Tree park
or
golf
drugs.
course.
Yeah, like it's just I would rather funnel that money back into my stuff to make more stuff.
That's been a trend in everyone I interviewed so far. Yeah, everyone just kind of wants to make their own stuff in a way or another.
Yeah.
I could never do the parody stuff. I did some for Machinima, but then they closed off. The happy hour is gone. But I don't know. At some point, I just stopped having ideas for like parodies. And unless you're talking about like a big analysis, but that's a completely separate stuff. Like just big, you know. Actually, Mario was about Carl Jung and Nietzsche. Wow, it was actually.
That's so fucking based, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a separate thing. Either way, I do like the idea. So I wanted to ask to you, if you have obviously this is going to be a beat 'em up, but do you have like a favorite game? Because obviously you're pretty influenced by games when you make stuff.
I do love games. Smash 64 is probably the game I spent the most amount of time in my life playing for the first half of my life. And like, so when Smash Remix came out, which is a mod that just basically adds so much more characters and stuff to Smash 64. Like that was a dream come true. Like, and I loved Sonic as a kid, and like to be able to play as Sonic in Smash 64, I was like, this is the best thing ever. So that's up there. I love the Metroid series. Really.
Hell yeah. What's your favorite Metroid? What's the biggest one?
Maybe Prime 2.
Oh, you
Maybe.
Prime 2 enjoyer. I love Prime 2.
Yeah.
It's my favorite Prime game.
Love Prime 2. Yeah, mine too. Yeah, I think it's
Is there any reason for that?
amazing. It just elevates everything, and it's so alien. It's so oppressive, and it's just such a weird kind of like departure from a lot of the Metroid branding in a way. Like,
yeah, because
not
normally
entirely, but it's
because normally there's like a lava level, an ice level, but in 2 it's a fully alien world with its own mechanisms and its own way of you actually feel like you're freaking exploring a completely different biome that's not following video gamey logic. It just
right, and I'm a huge like Trek fan, like of the first 3 series, like especially Deep Space Nine, and Metroid. The Prime games have a very like Star Trek Deep Space Nine kind of feel to them, which I love. Or like I love Aeon Flux.
Aeon
like
Flux rules.
so, it's like I feel like it. There's something about the Prime games that have that kind of like language to it very similarly. But yeah, Prime 2, Smash Bros.
Quadraxis, the fight against Quadraxis was awesome.
Absolutely. I love Crazy Taxi. That's probably my favorite arcade game of all time. Like,
okay, yeah. Honestly, you mentioned Aeon Flux. You mentioned Aeon Flux and now Crazy Taxi, and I was just thinking, the first time I saw your art, my first thought was Aeon Flux, and now that you mentioned Crazy Taxi, it's kind of a bit of both, honestly.
I mean,
it got both the Crazy Taxi and the Aeon Flux in you.
My ideal Metroid series would be an animated series. It would mostly be silent, and it would be like a combination of both like Aeon Flux and Gendy Tartakovsky's like Primal in terms of like silent storytelling.
Okay, time to get Peter Chung work with Gendy Tartakovsky.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, it's something that once Prime 4, once we know when it's coming out, I have this old animatic I never finished. It was a Metroid animatic. And I would love to just flesh that out and revisit it.
Metroid Primal? Metroid Primal.
Good one. Like I've thought about, I was like, do I do a comic? Do I just do an animation test? I think it would be like an animatic, but like with some moments of animation, like real animation. But it was like just this fun little thing that I wanted to do. Anyway, though, I mean, I've loved a lot of games. I love Risk of Rain.
Oh, I was going to ask you about that. Do you play Risk of Rain too?
I do. I love Risk of Rain too. I haven't touched it since the new DLC. Like, I'm excited to go back though. I want to see what's new.
I don't know if the new DLC has already come out, but I love Risk of Rain too. I want to come back. When the DLC is out.
we could play sometime.
Yeah, we can definitely play it. Nick, another guy I know, also loves Risk of Rain.
Hell yeah. Risk of Rain. I've actually been loving Marvel Rivals, as sweaty as it can be in the zeitgeist. It's just been the game I've been playing like between work. It's a lot of fun. Team Fortress 2, Left 4 Dead 2.
Okay, I see the tempo, the time where
Fallout New Vegas fucking might take the cake. That's
your favorite game? That's your favorite game?
I can't say favorite with complete certainty. To me, like the idea of favorite, I love the idea of favorite in terms of organization, but to me, favorite, it makes more sense when you ask someone like, what's your favorite thing right now? Because it's a lot easier to go into that. Like, you ask me my favorite song, we'll never have an answer. You know, like we consume music way too much. Like it's too hard to like pin that down. But favorite game, to me, it's like what I have to do, because I rant and I ramble, is I have to just list a ton of crap that I love. But I can't say, because it's like I could say like, yeah, I love Sonic Adventure 2 nostalgically. Is it a great game? Like are the physics, is the gameplay that great? It's jank. It's fucking whack. It's silly. It's strange, but it is such a powerful nostalgic power over me. From the music and the art design and the story and everything, that I love Sonic Adventure 2. Am I playing it all the time? No. But it's just like, that's what I mean. It's like, so it's hard to pinpoint what favorite is. But I think within that is a lot of, my answers, my logic. I don't know. Like, I hope that kind of answers.
Okay, so if I asked you what's your favorite band, would it be the same thing? Like, you wouldn't be able to.
Yeah, and I would list a ton of bands, but then
Okay.
I'd be leaving out a ton of other bands. Like, it's like, because it's just, I don't know. It's hard. It's hard to fucking. It's really hard.
Okay, well, I guess you like prog rock. That's what you mentioned.
I do like prog rock. I like anything. I like music that goes somewhere. It evolves. I love like Gorillaz like falls into that territory. A lot of Zeppelin. Pat Metheny Group, Supertramp, Alan Parsons Project, King Crimson. Yeah, like, but I still grew up and loved like the Beatles, and like the Who, the Guess Who, Bowie, like, I don't know. It's like I don't know if my taste is what I would call like original, but it's very broad. Like, for me, it's like, if it's good, it's good. Like, that's it. Like if Justin Bieber like put out a song that was absolutely like amazing, I'd have to be like, yeah, I love this song by Justin Bieber. Most of the time, no, I don't like Justin Bieber. But I'm just saying, you got to be objective, like, because like, yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of music out there, and there's often music that we never hear from an artist that like gets so buried because it just doesn't get radio play.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I know a lot of musicians who make some of my favorite music, and it's like they sold 100 albums lifetime.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that's just the nature of the business. Oversupply on everything. Oh yeah, but what about something more personal? Like, what's your favorite artist? What's your favorite animated thing? That's that directly.
I mean, again, I'm gonna give you the same treatment every time. Like, all right,
Okay.
favorite artists. Someone just asked me this recently, and luckily
Is it Peter Chung? Is it Robert Valley? Is it Genny
they're on that
Tartakovsky?
list. So I would say working Daniel Warren Johnson is a comic artist.
Daniel Warren
He's
Johnson. Do I know this guy?
Phenomenal. I don't know. He's more like he's gotten huge in the last like 10 years, but he is an atomic combination of writer and artist. He's an artist where it's like, once I saw his stuff, I was like, okay, this is what I can aspire to, because he's in my same vein. But yeah, Daniel Warren Johnson, Alex Toth. Yeah, Extremity, his Beta Ray Bill run for Marlo.
Wait, I know. I think I've seen his art.
He's doing
before.
Transformers now. Yeah, he's phenomenal.
He's a. He reminded me of some other. Who made Step by Bloody Step?
I don't know their name, but I know I've seen the.
Forgot how to say his name, but I feel like it's in the same school. I'm looking at this.
Yeah,
it's in the same school of that. Yeah, this is cool. No, I know this guy. He's the guy who uses all of these screen tones to make some badass shit. Did he do some Godzilla stuff?
Yeah, he's done like commissions and stuff like that.
Okay.
I don't think he did like a book, but any of his original works or his runs, like he did a Wonder Woman book, he did a Beta Ray Bill book. His original stuff, phenomenal. He's writing the current Transformers thing for IDW, or is it Image? I can't remember. He did the art for the first 5 issues, and it's glorious. His stuff is so just loose and fluid and inky, and it just packs such a punch. I love it.
Okay. This one is the image that I was getting into mind. The one with Cable just holding on a big gun.
Yeah.
That's the image that I have in mind once I think of this guy.
Yeah, he's
Great.
amazing. But yeah, so Dan Warren Johnson, Alex Toth, Jack Kirby, loved Ashley Wood. Robert Valley and Peter Chung are kind of a duo to me because they work together. When I was very young, and I still love his work, Jamie Hewlett. But yeah, I think I've stepped away in terms of my personal influences like a bit from him. I used to just kind of draw like him. Mobius was actually one of my biggest inspirations. And I went insane trying to emulate his work. His stuff has a consistent, like it's the same like line width. It's hyper detailed, like hatching kind of stuff. It's interesting. Science fiction.
Yeah, it's
Dune
interesting you say
stuff.
that because he's obviously Mobius art style is very it's the Belgian line, right? It's the very thin heavy metal
French.
Sci-fi from like the 70s and 80s. But
he's the
Jean Giraud, like right before he became Mobius, his previous comics on Blueberry, they're very Baroque actually. They're very honestly kind of in the same line of what you do. Obviously he's very meticulous on everything, but it's very busy. There's a ton of different line weights. So
my hand hurts looking at it.
Yeah.
That's
so
how I feel,
once
honestly.
he became Mobius, it was like a deliberate decision. This is my persona now that I'm doing sci-fi.
Yeah. Like I think a lot of artists have a ton of styles within them. Like I have sketchbooks full of me just drawing with a gel pen, like a single line, like no line variation. But it was still me. And that's what I also loved. What Ashley Wood kind of blew my mind because he is one of those rare artists who not only understands line, but he understands value very well. I mean, I guess Mobius did too, but Ashley Wood, he's incredible with ink and halftones, but he's also incredible with oil painting. And it's insane because his comics, his works will be like pages of like this like simple like kind of ink style. And then when he's doing like a big splash page or like to sell up impact, you'll just turn the page and there's a friggin' oil painting and it's like amazing. But it's still in his style. So it doesn't feel like the consistency's broken, and that's what's really cool. So yeah, like he was huge inspiration. Frank Frazetta, obviously. Mike Mignola, obviously. Although I would say Mike, he is an influence on my style, but I don't think he's like the most prominent, but like I still love his stuff. And then like Brian Boland was another artist I adored. He did like The Killing Joke for Batman and a lot of Judge Dredd. His stuff is great. And then Bob Peaks is an artist I really love. He's like a 60s like commercial pulp artist. Anything from the era of like Mad Men, that kind of stuff. Like movie posters with like the eggshell tempura kind of techniques and the pencil art. Love his stuff. So yeah, I know I just barraged off a lot of people, but those are probably the big ones that like enter my head and knock around. But yeah, I just definitely spec'd into more art reminiscent of like the 60s, 70s, and 80s. And I think that might be why my stuff stands out more to people, because I don't personally see a lot of people doing what I do exactly. Like, and I don't say that to punch down. Like I have a lot of artists who I love and they're all so unique. But I do remember when I went to school, every single person was trying to make like Steven Universe. Like,
oh really?
Steven Universe
Still
is solid. Well, when I was in school, like this is like now like fucking like 10 years ago.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there was definitely the call arts era. You were on Tumblr,
like,
you saw it.
And everyone was trying to either do that or like very specific anime. And I was just sitting there like trying to be like, wow, Space Ghost is the greatest thing we ever got. Like, you know, just like, you know, just like The Incredibles or like Johnny Quest, Venture Bros,
Mighty
Marvel
Max.
Comics. Yeah, stuff like that, like Heavy Ink. I don't know, just like, yeah, Team Fortress 2, like that realm is where I spec'd into, and no one else I know. I don't know if I really have any other like I've got a ton of friends who've got all these amazing styles who I love, but personally in my life, I don't know another animator going for the same kind of thing I do. Like, and to even prove that I could do this stuff like to a T is I made a Team Fortress 2 animation that I'm very proud of. Like it's gotten good traction. I was kind of surprised it didn't get more, but it's not the Loaded Wings one, which was a lot of fun, but there's another one on my channel where I basically was emulating the Synchrovox cartoons of the 60s in Team Fortress 2. Like, and I did like the lip sync where they put in the human mouths and stuff.
Oh yeah. I saw that.
And like it's like they were just doing like one single drawing like to get away with like moving and stuff. And I loved it. And I was very proud of myself for that because I could prove to myself, oh my god, like this took an entire team back in the day to make this shit, and I can just do it myself. And like that's, so I want to do like a full series in that style, unironically, because I think it would be hilarious and fun, and I think it's an untapped thing, and it just fits my brand so well. So yeah, anyway, like I think animation peaked when we barely animated at all. No Sakuga bullshit, no One Punch Man, that's all lame. Go back to being
animation
single
peaked
drawings.
when we didn't have computers and had to use markers and acrylics.
Animation peaked when there was no animation.
Animation peaked when we were spinning wheels.
Yeah, exactly.
To make pictures move. But yeah, fucking. It's interesting. You say if I were to say what's most unique about your style, obviously I can compare it to some artists, blah blah blah. But in general, just looking at your channel, I think it's got a very positive vibe.
Thank you.
Like
I don't try to make crass stuff. Like,
yeah. You seem to be bringing the
art...
new. Sorry, I was just gonna say you seem to be bringing like new to the old and the old to the new. Like
it's kind of you.
It's kind of like you said, you're introducing people all these different bands, and you might, who knows, introduce some older guy to these games, for example, and all these things. Because and you were saying a while ago, so I'm tired of the violence that we associate with parodies and blah blah blah. And I was just thinking, good time. You go back to the 40s. And 50s, and there wasn't that much violent media, and it's not because there wasn't before, it's because they were just recovering from a world war. And it's media
in our modern age.
Yeah,
sorry, we might be making the same point and I cut you off. Please continue.
I'm gonna see if we're making the same point. Is that once things become a certain negative, when real life becomes a certain level of negative, there's really no much point in making sure that everything in the mediascape is violent and gritty and they actually need some positivity. You actually need something like what you're doing.
Yeah, like I think we're on the same page. It's like it is fucked up out there, and you can argue that it always has been to different degrees, but especially right now, like life is hard enough, and I just want to make myself and my friends, and by extension everyone else, either feel laughter or comfort or joy or yearning or whatever. Like, yeah, exactly. Like, it's just, my art looks mean, but it's not. Like, it's the...
Yeah, you're not really rude, Jack.
Yeah. No, which I think is part of the fun. Yeah, no, everyone says that. Every single person I've ever met.
Yeah, Joe isn't really that angry. Joe isn't really that angry, except if the game has 4 hours.
I'm just picturing like a onion puff piece or something. Like, is RudeJack actually rude? Is Joe angry?
Is Joe angry? He's the critic, nostalgia.
He's the critic, even that nostalgic.
He's reviewing new Ghostbuster films. How is that nostalgic?
Nostalgia critic reviews your family albums. Like,
oh yeah,
like your parents getting a divorce or something. It's just like
he has to. He's a nostalgia critic. That's what
I remember it, so you don't have to. Actually, no. Now I remember it because you're bringing it up. He's like, no, but I'm the one doing the work. You don't have to worry. Stop talking to me.
Exactly. That's a new cartoon in the making right now.
Yeah.
Jesus, you're really clustering them up. Are you getting the lines so smooth? My lines are like barely even starting. I have to chicken scratch for anything to appear at all.
Oh, I switched to another brush and I changed the size of the brush.
I don't know. It's kind of not, for me it's not being super responsive. I don't know if it's because you're on the superior iPad. Speaking of which, why is your iPad like your ultimate tool? Why the iPad?
It just felt easier on my hand. I can claim to like the portability, but I'm usually just drawing from home. And I have an easel that like it kind of snaps into. I found when drawing on like the Huon tablet I used, like any like, you know, pen video interface, that they're basically all the same thing. There was something about like the size of the stylus, the pen, and the angle I was drawing on, but my wrist and my forearm, I tried everything. It just hurt. It was, and I know it was when I was like my busiest working on that show, but I just hated how it felt. And like the nib would like whittle down, and it just didn't feel good.
Was it a screen tablet or was it a like table tablet?
It was a screen.
Okay.
It was a full-blown screen. But the iPad also had Procreate, which is so akin to Photoshop, which is how I got into digital drawing. I was drawing in sketchbooks before. Procreate, I'm not sponsored by Procreate, but I think I might gladly would be, is that it's just $10 and then it's done, and it's like limitlessly, amazingly just intuitive for drawing. I just love it. It's
and
just
now they
such
have
a
Procreate
fun...
Dreams for actual
and
animation.
now they have Dreams, which, you know, they're going to add to, and again, that's $20 one-time purchase, and it's basically like After Effects Lite if you use it that way. Like, and it has a ton of potential, and it gets me really excited for people who just want to like get into animation. Like, yeah, it's not the pipeline, Toon Boom, TV Paint, whatever.
I'm a TV Paint guy. TV Paint is
that's awesome.
Master race.
That's really genuinely awesome. Like for me, I'm a heathen who makes all his stuff in Procreate and then assembles it in After Effects. So it's like I get that is not the norm, but it's just what works for me. And now that I'm basically my own boss or doing my own thing on YouTube, I don't have to listen to anyone. So, yeah, like it just, I don't know.
What would the world look like if they released Procreate on Windows? What would the world
I think
look
they're
like?
trying to do that. I think that's actually in the works. And
they would. I think Apple has the clutches on them. Don't you think so?
I'm not sure. I read somewhere that was in development. I could be wrong, but
you know what? They should partner with Linux, like fully open source, because I think that's
that would kick ass.
Because fucking Apple is probably going to go the AI route at some point with Apple Intelligence, and it's like we don't want that. Your main consumer base doesn't want that, so who knows? Maybe the future is the penguin. Maybe this is the year of Linux. Finally, this time, the year of Linux. For real this time, guys. Are you drawing?
Can't wait for the Nintendo Direct where they're like, we now announced the year of Linux. Like Switch 2 will completely run on Linux software.
I mean, Valve, thanks to Gabe Newell, now we have a lot of... Linux is very compatible with lots of games, so I wonder if there's going to be like an overall software update that allows all art software, like now you can do with games, but for Linux. I think we're like, we need a moment like that. I don't know. Anyway, I'm not like a Linux head or anything. I'm just tired of Windows, and Apple is very expensive. So once I see someone with an iPad, I'm like,
yeah, no, I get it.
But it's really cool that Procreate is that great. Yeah, like
it works for me. Yeah, you got to find what works for you.
I did try Procreate on an iPad, and one thing that it definitely has over screen tablets mostly is the 120 hertz speed, and the very, very small. What is the word for it? Everyone is always mentioning that. But the distance between the screen and the actual interface, the actual digitizer, So
yeah, it's the closest I feel to drawing on an actual sketchbook. I also have
Yeah,
a paper,
yeah.
like, which is a screen protector that makes it feel even more like paper and not a screen.
Oh yeah,
And
I used
yeah, it's great.
try with one of those too, except it like nibbled on the pencil.
Mm.
Like
Yeah,
the paper, the screen, does it ruin your pencil, your Apple Pencil?
Not really. I've had this one for like over a year now, and it's still pretty fine. It's like a little rounded at the tip, but it's fine.
Okay, okay. So I heard like horror stories. People just started buying new nibs and stuff. To be honest, that happens a lot with Wacom, so
Yeah.
that this didn't happen. Who is that guy you're drawing? The bald dude.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just drawing faces and faces and faces.
Is this your default guy? I mean, I guess that one is kind of Samus. That one over
Yeah,
there.
I guess. I mean, for me, it's definitely a trademark of mine to start with like a brow to decide most of the face, like what I'm drawing right now.
The rude part.
Yeah, there it is. And then like I'll usually go into like, yeah, the nose from there. Yeah, like
So these are the
eyes.
RudeJacks.
Sure, here they are.
These are the RudeJacks. Okay. Yeah, yeah. This is a common thing. If everyone studied Bern Hogarth or something, doing the brow thing first was a common practice. So going back to the comics, is there any comic out there that you have made that we can read?
Not a lot. There's only like one. It's free. It's on my Patreon, but it's like buried. Like it used to be the top post. But, like, switched it. It was something I just made over the pandemic. It's a silly little comic called The Regrettable Sinking Man, and it's if you know like Screw On Head, like Mike Mignola's like other one shot. It's very similar to that, where it's like this alternate history, and the main character he's made out of water, and so he has to like occupy vessels to like move around. So it was actually very Hellboy-esque. And he's in a deep sea diver suit, so like, but he's like a secret agent, and he's an idiot. He's like not a good secret agent. And this was just like a fun idea because I wanted to practice like making comics, because you can be like the best illustrator in the world, but like making comics is a skill unto itself. Like it's like a director.
People tend to underestimate that. Yeah.
Yeah, you have to understand how to like make the page flow and have every panel go into the next, and the composition of everything, like, and you have to learn all these different angles and situations that you never thought you'd have to draw. And this was just a fun, dumb thing I did. And again, it's buried on my Patreon. Like, it's not that I'm ashamed of it. I'm actually happy with it at the time, but I have a lot of comic ideas I want to get to, but my way into comics is kind of backwards, which kind of relates to what we were talking about in the beginning, which is I want to animate my way into comics in the sense that I want to animate, I want to work on games, I want to work on shows, I want to work on music videos, get as established as possible so that I could then kind of almost retire or like go back to just doing comics as like the simple thing, because drawing like a page a week compared to all the drawings that go into like animating every day is like nothing, you know? Like, especially if it's just like black and white line art. And then like at that point, if I had like another colorist or something like helping me, like I can draw really fast, and I am now finally confident to say I'm sure I can draw well. Like I've been validated enough by that. Like there was a long time where I never thought I was worthy, which I think is a common symptom of artists. But the confidence has just come by like doing it enough to the point where everyone else says that you're a professional. So you're like, oh, I guess I must be. I never called myself a professional, like even when I was working for Adult Swim, because it's imposter syndrome.
Yeah, that's common.
Like it's just now I'm like, yeah, fuck it. Yeah, I'm a professional. It's boom.
If you
'Cause
ever get
I've done
to
enough.
if you ever get to that point, would you like to go to traditional way, nibs and brushes, ink?
No,
No.
I don't think so. I no.
Okay.
I can emulate it enough, and like it in my style, I think I can make it totally work.
Nibs and brushes rule though. Nibs are cool.
Sure, yeah, they do.
They
I'm just
rule.
not dealing with all that shit. Like it's just not.
Don't understand. It's
cost-effective.
not a real artist if you don't let your ink just completely
Sure.
destroy your page and then having to redo it the whole time over.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, like you said, it's a whole art into itself, and I think even Robert Valley, you know, he did so much animation. Thought, going back to comics is gonna be easier, but he found himself surprised that it was still pretty hard because, you know,
Oh yeah, it's no picnic.
it's
but-
no picnic because even in something like storyboarding, once you're doing a board after another, it still is just a single shot with a single aspect ratio, even if there's all of this cinematic language to keep track of. In comics, suddenly you don't have to just take in account that, but also the page itself, which is going to accommodate many different types of panels, many different types of how your eyes follow, right, the illustrations that you're making therein, and how they break each other apart, how they connect to each other, how they diverge. And then now the next page connects to that, and then now to the page that you turn to, and then to the page spread, and there's suddenly this multi-dimensionality that doesn't really exist.
Yeah,
in
and does the pacing
film.
exist? Yeah, like when you go between the panels and the pages, and by the time you get to the end, like, did you rush? Did you go too fast? Or-
Yeah. Also,
Yeah,
that
it's-
exactly. It's such a more. I feel in terms of composition, comics have some of the most richest language in any medium.
Yeah,
Which,
and
but
you can just pause. You
exactly.
can time travel.
It does require a certain level of dedication from your audience. It's what Marshall
Which again
McLuhan called a
is-
cool medium, where video is a hot
Yeah.
medium, where it's doing the work for you. But
That's what I meant. Yeah, earlier. Yeah, with like TikTok and everything and
Ah,
shorts.
but look, you can't. I understand your point, but at the same time, if shit gets bad enough, you can't just, you can't just be the clown circus just for the algorithm at some point. And I think in
Yeah.
5
Well, you
years'
gotta find a
time,
way.
yeah, exactly. In 5 years' time, if you want to ride that wave, because it's only gonna get worse, right? It's only gonna get worse. In 5 years' time, I don't think it's even just. It's not even going to be stuff like you're doing now. It's gonna be something. I don't know. You're gonna have to do something really crazy and humiliating, I feel, just to be able to keep up. And at that point, it's better to just, you know what? I'll just do my thing.
Yeah, but to be in that position, you gotta earn enough, like either good.
That is true. I don't know what
that's-
sells in the future.
Yeah, like so, everything I'm on now is the journey to one day get paid to just be me. Is the goal, I think, of every artist.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
what do I want to do today? Like, I mean, I'll make stuff, but it's like I get to be in full control. Like, hell yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think that's kind of what people want to do. Do you have anyone else that kind of does stuff like you do that you look forward to watching every week or so?
I mean, Fred, my buddy, Fox in Space, he's obviously a huge one. Yeah, I've got a ton of buddies who we talk all the time, and they're putting out stuff like my buddy Wigglewood, Nobi1.
No.
On my YouTube. Yeah, Nobi1, he's great. Makes a lot of like pixel art, MS Paint, kind of like fucked surreal, like David Lynch type stuff.
Oh,
I have
this
a-
guy. Yeah, I
Yeah,
know
yeah.
him. It's cool. It's cool.
Yeah, I have like on my YouTube homepage there's a part called Real Ones, and if you click on that, it's like all my like buddies who are like, yeah, I would follow every single one of them. But yeah, no, they all we're all in like the same kind of boat. Like, you know, we always check in. It's like, what are you working on? It's like, yeah, this thing.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
the
get out this
cube.
month.
He did the cube
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Reminds me
Yeah,
of
that's
Pilot
the
Red's
cube.
son.
Yeah, a little bit.
A little bit.
Yeah. And then Wigglewood, who's amazing. He does like almost like the CDI like adventure game stuff, but it's really, really funny. It's like wizards and, you know, like D&D kind of stuff, but it's just like really botched.
Oh, this one looks interesting too.
Yeah, and then my buddy Jordan on Scary Ghosts, he does some cool stuff. Like really amazing, like hand drawn parody comedy things. He's got like this series with like wizards.
More wizards.
A lot of wizards today.
Yeah.
Yeah, people love wizards.
Pondering orbs. Yeah, I don't know. There's been a wizard comeback for some reason. Alright, I do want to know, who is Kiko? Kiko pays a visit.
Kiko is my good buddy. Who? Yeah, God, think of that. Yeah, no, that was just my buddy, and he just barged in one day. Yeah, we went to school together. And he's still very involved in, like, we bounce ideas off each other creatively, and we work on some stuff in the background. There's no real deeper story. He's just my friend. Like, that was just it. Like, it could have been anyone barging in.
It feels like such an inside. I don't know the expression you during that video.
Yeah. I mean, well, he also owns a hat that says "It's Kiko" on it.
Oh,
so
okay.
it's like, yeah, no, a lot of my stuff. Like, one thing that has always stuck with me is my dad told me that one time the creators of Looney Tunes, I'm not sure who exactly, if it was like Chuck Jones or Tex Avery, I'm not sure who in particular, but they were interviewed and they were asked, like, were you trying to make children or adults laugh? And they were just like, fuck that, we were trying to make ourselves laugh. And they were like, if we can make ourselves laugh, we know it will resonate with people
at some level.
And I've carried that with me the whole time, because that was the same thing with Bird Girl and other productions and stuff I've worked on. And I'm not trying to throw shade, but there's often been stuff that, like, especially a lot of stuff that's on TV that is quote unquote American adult comedy on like the big networks, that aren't funny, and they feel like they're written in the sense where it's like a think tank, and they're like, oh,
yeah, I know
this
exactly
is what the numbers.
You're talking about.
Yeah, it's like, this is what the numbers say the youth will find funny.
Yes, I love Brickleberry and Loudmouth and Crash Canyon.
And it's just, it's painful and it's not funny. Whereas you compare that to like early Simpsons or, you know, tons of indie things, or like Smiling Friends, you know, made completely by like internet alum. And they're all funny because they bounce ideas off each other, and it's organic, and like they're not going back to the same dry well, and like it's genuinely like they know when like something is funny just because it's like allowed to be earnest. Whereas they're not always doing stuff for the sake of violence, but they also know how to use random violence in a really funny way. That being said, random violence, like, this might go against everything I said earlier, but random violence in comedy, like, you know, Looney Tunes, Tom and Jerry, Ed, Edd and Eddy, and like other stuff, is one of my favorite genres of comedy. I do think it's hilarious. Like, I go into a full like ape frenzy, like laughing my ass off. But I just think like, when you make stuff where it's like Mario abuses Luigi and they're like cucking each other for the princess, and it's like, oh, they're doing drugs, I'm like, that stopped being funny like 20 years ago. You know, it's just that's annoying to me. Like, that's
Mario crushing turds and then the bloods come out.
Yeah, like it's like we're gonna go kill turtles. Like, yeah, it was funny, but then it's just like you ran it into the fucking ground. Anyway, that's a tirade in and of itself. I don't know. Like,
I do like the bits that it's just such an overused joke that sometimes doing it again, it's surprising.
Oh yeah.
I think Vinny did that with Terminal 7 or whatever. That one was funny.
Yeah, the commitment to the bit is definitely the real religion I respect, and if you can do it well, it's great. But yeah, I don't know. I keep going on tirades and losing my train of thought.
Okay, we do have one final question though.
Okay.
One final question. If Mr.
Just curious, did you write these out? How much do you plan these?
I have a whole page written with questions, but
Nice.
we just got to them. A lot of these we just got to them kind of organically. So,
Good.
so it's just like I don't have an actual number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5.
Number 5.
No, yeah, I don't have anything. Like I just have a bunch of questions, and if we target them, then that's it. And but the last one is always the same though. The last one is, if Mr. Beast gave you $1 million, what would you do with it? And you have to be in one of his shows. Like you have to be on Mr. Beast's show or whatever.
Can I kill him in the show?
I don't. Then he can't give you $1 million. Then he can't give you $1 million.
Well, he's already paid me in my scenario.
Did he?
Yeah. Well, no, I meant in this scenario. What do I have to do? I don't know.
I haven't seen any Mr. Beast anything in my entire life.
Neither have I. I just know it through like parodies and.
I just know that you probably would have to do something embarrassing, super normie TikToker in one of his shows, but it will be seen for everyone.
Stay in a bathroom for 24 hours like that shit?
Yes.
Yeah, I could do that. You fucking kidding me? Well, it'll probably be more intense than that, though, right?
Probably. Can you stay in a bathroom for a whole week feeding only on cockroaches? No, that's too much. But he would give you something
no.
He'd give you something like in a deprivation tank or something like that.
For $1 million? Yeah, I'd do it.
Yeah, deprivation tank sounds sweet.
I would, first do what I think everyone would, which is like address like their current standing, set myself up so that like I wouldn't have to worry about money for a bit, like organize my money, finances. Sorry, I burped. $1 million of that. All right, so I'm gonna have to pay like a big chunk of that in taxes. So basically, a fourth of that, I don't even get to touch. I know I'm going through this very logically.
Wait, really?
But
damn.
A fourth of that you don't even get to touch. You got to pay that or save that.
Okay.
But the rest of it, aside from living and just trying to give it to my friends or family or causes, and then save some of that for like retirement or a nest bed. Once all that shit is out of the way, the bulk sum of that, I don't know if I would open a studio per se, but I would essentially use that money to run a virtual studio in the sense of like hiring people to help me make the things I want to make.
Like some of those new indie animation things like Glitch that they hire people from all over to work on their stuff.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I think mine would be more tailored to like, all right, I'm working on my web show. I want, like I need in-betweeners. I need colorists. I need people who can do Blender stuff. I need, musicians. Like, just to lighten the load. Just so like in my lifetime, I could make more things better, faster, stronger, harder.
Mm-hmm.
And then, yeah, I mean, those are the immediate things. Like, and then if I could actually put some of that money to like really making a difference, like to stopping certain fucking billionaires and shit, which I know would be a small amount because compared to $1 million to $1 billion is like nothing, but
it's 1,000 times more.
Yeah, I know. But like, I don't know if I could just do something. I don't know.
How do you stop billionaires? Try. I feel like that's like, I don't know, a character in the book trying to stop the writer. That's what it feels like.
God.
Okay.
That's powerful, yeah.
I mean, that's what it feels like. Anyway, actual final question, and this is depending on your timing.
Sure. You should keep adding final questions.
I only have
80.
80 final questions. No, but this was the actual final question you have to answer. I was just wondering if you have time to play Risk of Rain 2.
Right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Maybe. So I think my cutoff point is like an hour and change, maybe. But like we could do a run or two.
Okay. Okay.
Sure. Yeah.
Let's try Risk of Rain. I just have to go to the bathroom. Alright, this is officially over. The Rodcast is over. Risk of Rain is non-record agreements.
Wait, when did you end it, or are we still recording?
No, we're still recording. I'm just saying that it's over. So, any final things?
You don't want to include a run of Risk of Rain in here?
I'll save it separately, and if it's funny, I'll let it like
sure.
After thing.
I just wanted to say thank you, and I hope you're well. And I know we haven't really spoken much, but yeah, I mean, this has been very nice, and yeah, all the best. And I hope your school is okay. You mentioned the storm.
Oh yeah, a tree fell on my school that I teach at.
Yeah, wow. But yeah, shit. And now to be selfish, like if you made it this far, and if this goes up in time, like I hate plugging myself and shit like that. I hate asking for money, but
Patreon. Your Patreon's gonna be
Patreon.
linked.
Sure, the Patreon. Hell yeah, thank you. But really, the plushies. Like,
oh yeah, everything that you want me to link, everything, just let me know, and I'll show it on the screen, and I'll put it down below.
Absolutely, but yeah, no, the plushies would be huge if you could check those out. But yeah, thank you all for coming, listening, rambling, learning, yearning.
Learning and yearning. Yeah. Okay, that was RudeJack. Keep watching. We're gonna have a lot more guests, a lot more cool animators, and even creators of some pretty unique shows. So that's pretty cool. Yeah. Okay, so that was the Rodcast. That was the Culture Rupture, episode 4, I believe. And I have to go. Okay. And it killed me. Fuck. Oh no.
What the hell?
Ah, fuck! Jeez. What? No! Good run.
Yeah, it's been fun.
Oh god.